The sun was hot in the small town of Pine Valley. The streets were dusty. Most people stayed inside their homes to escape the heat, but not the kids from Green Street. They played outside almost every day. Today was no different. 6 children kicked a ball in the empty lot between 2 old buildings. They laughed and shouted as they ran after the ball. Their faces were red from the heat, but they did not care. Among them was Ravi, a tall boy with dark hair. He was the oldest at 12 years old. The others looked up to him. When Ravi said something, everyone listened. Next to him was his sister Meena, who was 10. She was fast and could run better than most boys her age. The other children were Sam, Lila, Omar, and Tina. They all lived on the same street. Their parents worked long hours, so the children spent most days playing together. "Pass the ball," shouted Ravi. Sam kicked it hard, and the ball sailed through the air. It landed near the far corner of the lot, close to the street. Meena ran to get it. As she bent down to pick up the ball, she heard a soft noise. She looked up and saw a dog watching her from behind a trash can. The dog was thin with dirty brown fur. One of its ears was torn, and it had no collar. "Hey guys," Meena called out. "Look at this dog." The children gathered around. The dog did not move. It just watched them with sad eyes. "It looks hungry," said Tina, the youngest of the group. "It looks sick," said Omar, taking a step back. "My dad says street dogs can be dangerous." Ravi picked up a small rock from the ground. "We should chase it away. My mom says street dogs carry diseases. Maybe we should give it some food instead," Meena suggested. She loved animals and felt sorry for the skinny dog. "No way," said Ravi. "It might bite you." He threw the rock near the dog, not hitting it but close enough to scare it. The dog jumped back, its tail between its legs. The other boys joined in. They picked up small rocks and sticks and tossed them toward the dog. They shouted and clapped their hands. The dog backed away, looking scared. "Go away! Get out of here!" yelled Sam, waving his arms. Only Meena and Tina stood back, not joining the boys. Meena felt bad for the dog, but was too afraid to stop her brother. Tina looked like she might cry. The dog turned and ran down the street, disappearing around a corner. The boys cheered as if they had won a game. "Good job. Now we can play again," said Ravi, picking up the ball. They went back to their game, but Meena kept looking toward the street where the dog had run away. She wondered where it would go and if it would find food. She wished she had been brave enough to stop the boys. The game continued for another hour. The sun started to set, making long shadows across the lot. The air became cooler. Some parents would soon call their children home for dinner. Just as they were thinking about ending their game, they heard a loud noise. It was the sound of a motorcycle engine. The children stopped playing and turned toward the street. A large motorcycle pulled up beside the lot. It was black and shiny. The man riding it wore a leather jacket despite the hot weather. He had dark sunglasses and a short beard. He looked tough and serious. The children froze. They did not know who this man was or why he had stopped near them. Strangers rarely came to their neighborhood, especially not men on big motorcycles. The man turned off his engine. He took off his sunglasses slowly and looked at each child, one by one. His eyes seemed to know something. The children felt nervous under his gaze. Then the man got off his motorcycle. He stood tall next to it, still watching the children. No one said a word. Even Ravi looked worried. The man in the leather jacket took a step toward them. The children held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The man in the leather jacket walked closer to the children. His boots made soft sounds on the dusty ground. No one spoke. The only noise was the distant sound of cars from the main road. "Which one of you threw rocks at that dog?" the man asked. His voice was deep but calm. The children looked at each other. Ravi stepped forward. Even though he was scared, he still wanted to look brave in front of the others. "We all did," Ravi said. "That dog should not be here." It might be dangerous. The man shook his head slowly. You think that dog is dangerous? He looked at each child again. Why do you think that? Omar spoke up. My dad says street dogs carry diseases. They can bite people. The man nodded. Some dogs might, but most are just hungry and scared. He reached into his jacket pocket. The children stepped back, not sure what he would take out. It was just a small photo. The man held it up so they could see. This is the same dog you chased away. Look at this picture. The children moved closer to see. In the photo, the dog looked healthier. Its fur was clean, and it stood tall next to a man in a uniform. The dog wore a special vest with bright colors. This dog has a name, said the leather jacket man. His name is Max. He used to be a hero. A hero? Tana asked, her eyes wide. How can a dog be a hero? The man put the photo back in his pocket. Max was a rescue dog. Do you know what that means? When the children shook their heads, he explained. He was trained to find people who are lost or trapped. Max saved 5 people after the big flood last year. Mina gasped. Everyone in town knew about the flood. It had destroyed many homes. People had died. It was the worst disaster anyone could remember. That skinny dog saved people? Sam asked, not believing it. Yes, said the man. Max worked for 3 days without much rest. He found a little girl under a fallen tree. He found an old man trapped in his car. He found a mother and her baby in a house filled with water. The children were quiet. They looked down at the ground. Even Ravi seemed ashamed now. What happened to him? Mina asked. Why is he on the street now? The man's face became sad. His owner died in the flood. Max was sent to a shelter, but he ran away. He has been on the streets for months. How do you know all this? Ravi asked, still not fully trusting the stranger. The man unzipped his leather jacket. Underneath was a uniform similar to the one worn by the man in the photo. I work with rescue animals. My name is Jake. I have been looking for Max for weeks. The children saw a badge on his shirt. It had a picture of an animal and some words they could not read from where they stood. Is Max in trouble now? Tina asked in a small voice. Jake shook his head. No, but I need to find him. He needs food and medicine. He needs a home. We can help you find him, Mina said quickly. She still felt bad about not stopping the boys earlier. Jake looked at her. Would you? That would be very helpful. Ravi nodded too. We know this neighborhood better than anyone. We can look in all the places where dogs might hide. I want to help too, said Omar. The other children agreed. Jake smiled for the first time. Thank you. That is very kind. But what will happen to Max when we find him? Sam asked. Will he go back to being a rescue dog? Jake looked toward the street where Max had run away. First, we need to find him. Then we can talk about his future. He turned back to the children. Max is special. He deserves a second chance. Like everyone does, Mina said quietly. Jake nodded. Yes, exactly like that. Jake took off his leather jacket and hung it on his motorcycle. The evening was getting cooler, but they would be walking a lot. He pulled out 6 small devices from his bag. These are walkie-talkies, he said, giving one to each child. We can talk to each other if anyone finds Max. The children looked at the devices with excitement. They had seen walkie-talkies in movies, but had never used real ones before. Press this button to talk, Jake showed them. Let me know if you see Max, but do not approach him. He might run away again if he gets scared. How will we catch him? Ravi asked. Jake pulled out something else from his bag. It was a leash and a small box. This box has food that Max likes. The smell might bring him to us. But first, we need to find him. They made a plan. Jake would go north. Ravi and Omar would go east. Mina and Tina would check the area behind the old factory. Sam and Lai would go west, toward the park. Remember, Jake said before they split up. Max is scared. Talk softly if you see him. Do not make sudden moves. Call me right away." The children nodded. They felt important. This was a real mission, not just a game. Mina and Tina walked slowly behind the old factory. It was getting darker. The place had many hiding spots for a dog. Old crates, broken machines, and piles of trash lined the back wall. "Do you think we will find him?" Tina asked. "I hope so," Mina said. "I feel bad about what happened." They looked behind every box and under every piece of metal. No sign of Max. Their walkie-talkie made a noise. "Anyone see anything?" It was Jake's voice. "Nothing yet," Ravi answered. "Same here," said Sam. Mina pressed her button. Nothing behind the factory. They kept searching. Tina suddenly stopped. "Listen," she whispered. Mina heard it too. A soft whining sound from behind a large trash bin. They moved closer. In the shadows, they saw two eyes looking at them. "It might be Max," Mina whispered. She pressed the button on her walkie-talkie. "Jake, we might have found something behind the big trash bin at the factory." "Stay there. Do not move closer." "I am coming," Jake's voice replied. Mina and Tina stood very still. The dog behind the bin moved slightly. They could see it better now. It was indeed Max. He looked even skinnier up close. His fur was dirty, and he seemed tired. "Poor Max," Tina said softly. "He looks so sad." "He is probably hungry and scared," Mina replied. They heard footsteps. Jake appeared around the corner, walking slowly. He saw the girls and then noticed Max behind the bin. "Good job, girls," he said quietly. "You found him." The walkie-talkies made noise as the other children asked what was happening. Jake told them all to come to the factory, but to approach quietly. Jake knelt down several feet away from Max. He opened the small box and took out some food. The smell filled the air. Max lifted his head, clearly interested. "Hey, buddy," Jake said in a soft voice. "Remember me? We worked together last year." Max stayed behind the bin, but his tail moved slightly. "Is he remembering?" Tina asked. "Maybe," Jake said. "Dogs have good memories, especially for people who were kind to them." He placed some food on the ground between himself and Max. Then he moved back. Max watched them for a long time. Finally, hunger won over fear. He slowly came out from behind the bin. The other children arrived, but stayed back as Jake had instructed. They all watched as Max carefully approached the food. He sniffed it, then began to eat. "That is it, Max," Jake said gently. "Good boy." While Max ate, Jake slowly moved closer. He held out his hand for Max to smell. The dog finished the food and looked at Jake. There was a moment when everyone held their breath. Then Max stepped forward and sniffed Jake's hand. Max sniffed Jake's hand and then moved closer. Jake slowly reached out and touched Max on the head. The dog did not run away. Instead, he moved even closer to Jake. "He remembers you," Mina said in a soft voice. Jake nodded. "We spent many weeks together during the flood rescue." He continued to pet Max gently. "He was one of our best dogs." The children watched in wonder as Max began to wag his tail. It was a small wag at first, but it grew stronger. His whole body seemed to relax. "Can I pet him too?" Tina asked. "Not yet," Jake said. "Let him get used to me first. Then maybe he will trust you too." Jake took out more food and fed it to Max by hand. As the dog ate, Jake checked him over. He looked at his paws, his ears, and his body. "Is he hurt?" Ravi asked, now feeling bad about throwing rocks at Max. "He has some cuts and scrapes," Jake said, "and he is very thin. But I think he will be okay with good food and care." Jake slowly put the leash around Max's neck. The dog did not fight it. He seemed to remember what a leash was. Jake stood up, and Max stood with him. "Now what?" Omar asked. "Where will he go?" "First, He needs to see a vet, Jake said. A doctor for animals. Then he will come home with me for a while. Will he be a rescue dog again? Sam asked. Jake looked at Max thoughtfully. I do not know. Some dogs want to go back to work after they have been through hard times. Others prefer a quiet life. We will see what Max wants. The sun had set completely now. The street lights were on. Parents would be looking for their children soon. You should all go home, Jake said. Your families will worry. The children nodded, but none of them moved. They still felt responsible for Max somehow. Can we see him again? Mina asked. Maybe visit him when he is feeling better. Jake smiled. Of course. In fact, I could use some help. What kind of help? Ravi asked. I run a small shelter for animals like Max, Jake explained. Dogs and cats who need homes. We always need people to walk the dogs, play with them, and help them trust humans again. The children looked at each other with excitement. A real animal shelter sounded interesting. I want to help, Mina said quickly. Me too, said Tina. Soon all the children were agreeing. Even Ravi nodded. Good, Jake said. I can pick you up this weekend if your parents say it is okay. He gave each child a small card with his name and phone number. Have your parents call me if they have questions. The children put the cards in their pockets carefully. They felt proud. This was more important than any game they had ever played. Now you really should go home, Jake said. It is getting late. The children said goodbye to Jake and Max. As they turned to leave, Ravi stopped and looked back. I am sorry we threw rocks, he said to Max. We did not know you were a hero. Jake put his hand on Ravi's shoulder. Most people and animals have stories we do not know about. That is why we should always be kind. Ravi nodded. He understood now. The other children did too. They watched as Jake led Max to his motorcycle. There was a small carrier attached to it. Jake helped Max get inside and closed the door. Max seemed okay with this. Maybe he remembered riding in it before. Jake put on his leather jacket and started the motorcycle. He waved to the children, and they waved back. Then he drove away with Max, the lights of the motorcycle fading into the distance. The children walked home together, talking about their adventure. They could not wait to tell their parents about Max the rescue dog and Jake from the animal shelter. They had learned something important today. Something they would not forget. Saturday morning came quickly. The children had spent all week talking about their adventure with Max and Jake. They had told their parents everything. Most parents were surprised, but happy that their children wanted to help at an animal shelter. Ravi and Mina waited outside their house. Their mother watched from the window. She was still not sure about this Jake person, but the animal shelter had a good name in town. A van pulled up with the words Second Chance Animal Shelter painted on the side. Jake got out and waved to the children. Good morning, he said. Is everyone ready? One by one, the other children came out of their houses. Parents came too, wanting to meet Jake. He shook hands with everyone and explained about the shelter. He showed them papers that proved he really worked there. The parents seemed happy after talking to him. We will have them back by 4, Jake told the parents. They will be safe with us. Soon all 6 children were in the van with Jake. They were excited to see where Max had gone. How is Max doing? Mina asked as they drove. Much better, Jake said. The vet gave him medicine for his cuts. He got a bath and good food. He slept for a whole day. Does he remember being a rescue dog? Omar asked. Jake nodded. We think so. When we showed him some rescue equipment, his tail wagged. He seemed interested. The van turned onto a country road. After a few minutes, they saw a large area with fences. Inside were many buildings and open spaces. Dogs of all sizes ran in some of the spaces. People walked around caring for them. Welcome to Second Chance, Jake said as he parked the van. The children got out and looked around with wide eyes. They had never seen so many dogs in one place. A woman came to meet them. She wore the same kind of uniform as Jake. "You must be the helpers Jake told us about," she said with a smile. "I am Lisa. I run this place with Jake." Lisa led them to a building where they washed their hands and learned the rules of the shelter. Always be gentle. No loud noises. No running near the dogs. Always ask before you touch any animal. The children listened carefully. This was serious business. "Can we see Max now?" Tina asked. Lisa smiled. "Yes, he is waiting for you." They walked to a special area at the back of the main building. It had soft beds and toys for dogs. Max was there, looking much better than the last time they saw him. His fur was clean, and he seemed to have more energy. When Max saw Jake, he ran to him with his tail wagging. Then he noticed the children. He stopped and looked at them. "He remembers us," Ravi said quietly. "He probably thinks we will chase him again." "Show him you are friends now," Jake suggested. Mina knelt down slowly. "Hi, Max. We are sorry about before. We want to be your friends." She held out her hand like Jake had shown them. Max watched her for a moment. Then, slowly, he came forward and sniffed her hand. The children held their breath. Max looked at Mina, then at the other children. Finally, he moved closer to Mina and let her touch his head gently. "He forgives you," Lisa said with a smile. One by one, the other children got to pet Max too. Even Ravi, who had thrown the first rock, was allowed to touch him. Max seemed to understand that they were sorry. "Now," said Jake, "who wants to learn how to take care of shelter dogs?" All hands went up. The children spent the morning learning how to fill water bowls, clean dog beds, and brush dogs who needed grooming. They learned how to walk dogs on leashes and how to play with them safely. Max stayed with them the whole time. He seemed to enjoy watching the children work. Sometimes he would bring them a toy, as if he wanted to help too. "He is a smart dog," Lisa told them. "He was a great rescue dog because he understands what people need." After lunch, Jake took the children to a special training area. It had many strange objects. There were piles of wood, small tunnels, and what looked like parts of broken houses. "This is where we train rescue dogs," Jake explained. "They learn to find people who are trapped under things or lost in the woods." "Did Max train here?" Lai asked. "Yes," Jake said. "He was one of our best students." Jake picked up a small toy and showed it to Max. "Remember this, buddy." Max barked and his tail wagged fast. He seemed excited. "Watch this," Jake told the children. He turned to Max. "Find, Max. Find." Max ran to the piles of wood and broken house parts. He moved around them, sniffing and looking. The children watched with wide eyes as Max began to dig at one spot. "There is someone under there," Omar asked, sounding worried. Jake laughed. "No, just a doll that smells like a person. We use it for training." Sure enough, Max found a small doll under some boards. He barked loudly and looked back at Jake. "Good boy, Max," Jake called. He turned to the children. "That is how he found people during the flood. He can smell a person under water, mud, or fallen buildings." The children looked at Max with new respect. This was not just a street dog. This was a hero who saved lives. "Can we try?" Ravi asked. He wanted to see how it worked. "Sure," Jake said. "Who wants to hide and who wants to find?" They decided Tina would hide with the doll. Jake led her to a different area where there were more things to hide behind. The other children stayed with Max. "Now we wait a few minutes," Jake said. "Then Max will find her." "How will he know to look for Tina?" Mina asked. Jake took a small piece of cloth from Tana's jacket before she left. "He can smell this and know who to find." After a few minutes, Jake let Max smell the cloth. "Find, Max. Find Tina." Max ran off into the training area, his nose to the ground. The children followed behind with Jake. Max moved between buildings and piles of wood. He seemed to know exactly what to do. Soon Max stopped near a large pipe and barked. Tina was inside, laughing with surprise. He found me so fast, she said as she crawled out. I thought I picked a good hiding spot. Max knows his job, Jake said proudly. He found many people this way during the flood. The children took turns hiding and watching Max find them. It became a fun game, but they also understood how important this work was. Does Max live here at the shelter now? Sam asked later, as they rested in the shade. For now, yes, Jake said, but we hope to find him a forever home soon. What is a forever home? Lai asked. A family who will keep him and love him for the rest of his life, Lisa explained. She had joined them again. The children looked at each other. They all had the same idea. Could one of us take him? Ravi asked. Jake smiled. That would be wonderful, but there are things to think about. Dogs need food, walks every day, and visits to the vet. It costs money to have a dog, and your parents must agree. The children looked down, thinking. Their families did not have much extra money. What if we all help? Mina suggested. Maybe Max could live with one family, but we all share the cost and the walks. Jake and Lisa looked surprised. That is an interesting idea, Lisa said. I have never heard of children sharing a dog before. We could try it, Jake said slowly. But first, you need to talk to your parents, and you need to learn more about taking care of a dog. Will you teach us? Omar asked. Jake nodded. Yes, you can come back next weekend if your parents agree. And the weekend after that. By then, we will know if this can work. The children smiled at each other. They had a plan now. They would save Max together, just like he had saved people in the flood. A month passed. The children visited the shelter every weekend. They learned how to feed dogs, give them medicine, and train them to follow simple commands. Their parents came too and met Max. They saw how good he was with the children. Ravi and Mina's parents said Max could live with them. They had a small yard where he could play. The other parents agreed to help with food and vet costs. It seemed like the perfect plan. Today was the day Max would go to his new home. The children gathered at Ravi and Mina's house. Jake was coming with Max soon. Do you think he will like living here? Tina asked as they waited. I hope so, Mina said. We made a nice bed for him in the corner of the living room. And we have toys for him, Ravi added. He had changed a lot in the past month. He was no longer the boy who threw rocks at street dogs. They heard a motorcycle outside. Jake had arrived with Max in the carrier. The children ran out to meet them. Max jumped out of the carrier and looked around. He seemed to remember the children now. His tail wagged when he saw them. Welcome to your new home, Max, Jake said, leading the dog to the house. Ravi and Mina's mother stood at the door. She was still a little nervous about having a dog, but she smiled when she saw how happy the children were. Come in, she said to Jake and Max. Let me show you where he will sleep. Inside, Max sniffed everything. He seemed curious about his new home. The children showed him the bed they had made and the toys they had bought. He seems to like it, Jake said, watching Max explore. But remember, it will take time for him to feel completely at home. We will be patient, Mina promised. Jake gave them a bag of dog food and some medicine. He still needs these pills for another week, he explained. And remember to brush him every few days. The children nodded. They had learned all this at the shelter. What about his rescue training? Omar asked. Will he forget how to find people? Jake thought for a moment. That is a good question. It would be sad if he lost that skill. Could we practice with him? Ravi suggested. Like we did at the shelter. That is an excellent idea, Jake said. I can come once a month to help you practice. That way, Max can still use his special skills. And maybe he can help if someone gets lost in our town, Lai said excitedly. Jake smiled. Maybe. But for now, let him enjoy being a regular dog. He worked hard during the flood. He deserves some rest. It was time for Jake to leave. He knelt down and patted Max one last time. Be good, buddy. These children will take care of you now." Max licked Jake's hand as if to say goodbye. The children could see that Jake was sad to leave Max, but also happy that the dog had found a good home. "You can visit anytime," Mina told Jake. "Max will always remember you." Jake stood up and put on his leather jacket. "Take good care of him, and remember what I told you. Always be kind to animals because they all have stories," the children said together. They had not forgotten the most important lesson. Jake smiled and walked to his motorcycle. The children and Max stood in the doorway and waved as he drove away. Max seemed a little sad as Jake left. He made a small whining sound. "It is okay, Max," Ravi said, petting the dog gently. "Jake will visit. And you have us now." Max looked up at Ravi. Then he wagged his tail and went back inside the house with the children. That night, Max slept on his new bed. Ravi and Mina checked on him before they went to sleep. He seemed peaceful. "Do you think he will be happy here?" Mina whispered. "I think so," Ravi said. "And we will make sure he never feels alone or scared again." The children had learned something important from Max. They had learned that everyone deserves a second chance. They had learned that being kind was always better than being mean. And they had learned that sometimes heroes come in unexpected forms. 6 months passed. Max had become part of the neighborhood. Every day after school, the children took turns walking him. On weekends, they all played with him in the park. People in town knew his story now. They called him the hero dog. One rainy day in April, the children were at school when they heard sirens. Many police cars and fire trucks raced past the school. Their teacher looked worried. "There has been a bad accident," she told the class. A bus went off the road near the river. It slid down the hill in the rain. The children looked at each other. The river was high because of all the rain. It was a dangerous place. At lunchtime, they heard more news. The bus had many people inside. Some were hurt. Some were still missing in the trees and bushes near the river. "What if they get washed away?" Tina said, her voice shaking. She was thinking about the flood from last year. The principal made an announcement. "Parents will pick you up early today. Police want everyone to stay home while they search for the missing people." When Ravi and Mina got home, they found their mother talking to Jake on the phone. She looked serious. "Yes, he is here. I will ask the children," she said, then turned to Ravi and Mina. "Jake wants to know if Max can help with the search. He says they need rescue dogs." "Of course he can help," Ravi said at once. "That is what he was trained for." "But it might be dangerous," their mother said. "The river is very high." Mina looked at Max. He was standing by the door, as if he knew something important was happening. "Max is a hero," she said. "He should be allowed to help." Their mother spoke to Jake again. "They say yes. When will you come?" Jake arrived 20 minutes later in a truck with rescue team letters on the side. He wore a bright yellow jacket with reflective stripes. He had brought a special vest for Max. "This will keep him safe," Jake explained as he put the vest on Max. "It will help people see him in the rain." Max stood very still as Jake put on the vest. He seemed to know this was serious. When Jake was done, Max looked up at him, ready for work. "The other children want to help too," Mina said. "Can they come?" Jake shook his head. "It is too dangerous. The riverbank is slippery. But you can tell them that Max is helping." Mina called her friends while Ravi helped Jake get Max into the truck. The other children were sad they could not come but proud that Max would help. "We will wait at Omar's house," Lai told Mina on the phone. "His house is on high ground. We can see the river from there." After Jake left with Max, Ravi and Mina asked their mother if they could go to Omar's house. She agreed but told them to be careful. At Omar's house, the children watched through the window. They could see flashing lights near the river. Many people in bright jackets were searching through the trees and bushes. "I hope Max finds everyone," Tina said. "He will," Ravi said confidently. "He is the best rescue dog." The hours passed slowly. It got dark outside. The rain kept falling. The children's parents called and said they should stay at Omar's house for the night because the roads were bad. As they got ready to sleep, Omar's father came into the room. "I just heard a report on the radio," he said. "The rescue dogs found all the missing people. They are alive." The children cheered. "Was Max mentioned?" Ravi asked eagerly. The report said a local dog named Max found a young woman who was stuck under a fallen tree, Omar's father said. "They said he was once a street dog who became a hero again." The children could not sleep after that. They were too excited. Their Max was in the news. He had saved someone. In the morning, the rain had stopped. The children looked out the window and saw the rescue trucks returning. They ran outside, looking for Jake and Max. Jake's truck pulled up in front of Omar's house. He looked tired but happy. Max was in the front seat, wet and muddy but safe. "Max," the children called out as Jake opened the door. Max jumped down and ran to the children. They hugged him, not caring about the mud and water. "Is it true he saved someone?" Sam asked Jake. Jake nodded. "Yes. He found a woman who had been thrown from the bus. She was under a tree, and the water was rising around her. No one could see her, but Max knew she was there." A week after the bus accident, the mayor of the town called for a special ceremony. The rescue teams would be honored for their work. Max was invited too. The children were very excited. They gave Max a bath and brushed his fur until it shone. Jake brought the special rescue dog vest for Max to wear. "This is a big day for Max," Jake told the children as they walked to the town hall. From street dog to town hero, it is an amazing story. The town hall was full of people. At the front was a small stage with chairs for important people. The mayor stood at a podium, ready to speak. When Jake and the children entered with Max, people turned to look. Some clapped their hands. A reporter took pictures. "That is the hero dog," someone said. "He used to be a street dog," another person added. "Those children saved him." The children felt proud, but also a little shy with so many people looking at them. They found seats near the front, with Max sitting between Ravi and Mina. The mayor began to speak. He talked about the bravery of the rescue teams during the bus accident. Then he mentioned Max. "We have a special hero to honor today," the mayor said. "A dog named Max, who once helped during the Great Flood and has now saved another life." The mayor asked Jake to bring Max to the stage. The dog walked calmly beside Jake, his head high. The children watched with wide eyes as the mayor put a special medal around Max's neck. "This medal is for bravery," the mayor explained. "Max found a young woman when no one else could. He saved her life." Everyone clapped and cheered. Max wagged his tail, seeming to understand that he was being honored. Then something unexpected happened. A young woman with her arm in a cast stood up from the audience. She walked slowly to the stage. "That is her," Jake whispered to the children. "That is the woman Max found under the tree." The woman knelt down in front of Max. Tears were in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly, petting Max's head. "I was so scared. The water was rising. I thought no one would find me. Then I heard you barking. You saved my life." Max licked her hand gently. The woman hugged him, not caring about her fancy clothes. The mayor handed the woman a microphone. "Would you like to say something to everyone?" he asked. The woman stood up, still holding Max's leash. "I just want to say that heroes come in all forms," she said. "Even those we might ignore or chase away. This dog was once a street dog, unwanted and alone. Now he is a hero who saves lives. It makes me think about how we treat others." The children looked at each other. They remembered how they had chased Max away that first day. They had thrown rocks at him. They had not known his story. After the ceremony, many people came to meet Max and the children. The reporter asked to take their picture for the newspaper. Jake explained how the children had helped find Max when he was lost, and how they now shared the responsibility of caring for him. "It is a wonderful story," the reporter said. From chasing away a street dog to caring for a hero, these children have learned an important lesson. As they walked home, the children felt different somehow. They were no longer just kids who played in the empty lot. They were part of something important. They had helped save Max, and Max had saved others. "Do you remember when we thought he was just a dirty street dog?" Omar asked. "We were wrong," Ravi said. "We judged him without knowing him." "I think we all learned something," Mina added. "Now we know better." At home, Max went to his bed with his new medal still around his neck. The children took turns sitting with him, telling him how proud they were. That night, as Ravi and Mina got ready for bed, they heard their parents talking. "It is amazing how one small act can change so much," their father said. "If Jake had not come that day on his motorcycle, Max might still be on the streets. Those people from the bus might not have been found." "And the children have changed too," their mother added. "They have learned responsibility and kindness." Ravi and Mina smiled at each other. Their mother was right. They had changed. They would never again judge others without knowing their story. They would never again be unkind to those who seemed different or unwanted. As they fell asleep, they could hear Max snoring softly in the living room. Their hero, their friend, the street dog who had taught them the most important lesson of all. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear fur, and sometimes the ones we chase away are the very ones who can teach us the most about courage, forgiveness, and second chances.